Hello, welcome to my channel. In the previous video we have discussed about basic concept of programming and how to write an algorithm. Moving forward, in this video we will discuss program development in detail. We will look on how to develop a program and what steps are involved in program development. Let's have a quick review of programming and problem solving, what these are, and what steps are involved in them. Problem solving is a mental process. Computer can be used as a tool in solving our problems. Computer programming is the process of transforming a mental plan using familiar terms to us into one compatible with the computer. The purpose of programming is to create a program that exhibits a certain desired behavior. One definition of programming is, it is an applied problem solving. You have a problem, for example. You need a program to calculate the area of the circle. What needs to be done? What inputs and outputs are needed? How does it is done? What is entered to produce the right output? These questions are answered in whole programming process. We have discussed programming process in detail in our previous video. Programming process consists of two phases, problem solving and implementation phase. If both these steps are followed as instructed, it leads to successful program development. But talking about these both phases and whole process, the questions that raise into mind about programming process are is, what does it have to do? What does it need? What rules, algorithms are needed? When testing, what does it take to prove it works? Can I break this down further? Things that we have to remember are that there is often more than one solution to a problem. You can often solve a problem in many different ways that each have advantages and disadvantages. Two heads are better than one. Part of some problem solving techniques can be as simple as discussing issues. This can lead us to our solution. For example, why did you do that? This question, when discussed and brainstormed on it, we usually get a path towards our solution. Okay, now the steps that are involved in program development are: firstly, in problem solving, we define our problem, then for that problem we design a solution algorithm, which clearly identifies steps that will be involved to solve the problem. As we outline our solution and then develop that outline in an algorithm. After that we check the solution algorithm. We verify it. Then in implementation phase, we code the algorithm that we have written and verified. After writing code, we run the code and debug it. At last, the program written by us is documented and further maintained. In all this program development phase, the most important thing that we have to keep in mind is that no shortcuts should be adopted. For solving our problem, we have to go through complete process of program development. We must write an algorithm before actual implementation in form of a program. It is highly recommended to not directly start writing code. There are many reasons for this. One of them is that when we formally write step-to-step approach to solve our problem, it becomes very easy for us to write program. And also algorithm is language independent, so that algorithm can be implemented later in any language depending on our need. Algorithm makes it very easy for us to code further in any programming language. Moving forward, let's discuss in detail about program development. As we have discussed that first of all we define our problem. For defining problem, you should carefully read, reread and reread the problem until you understand completely what is required. Divide the problem into three separate components. Input, that is a list of the source data provided to the problem. Output, that is a list of the outputs required. Processing, that contains a list of actions needed to produce the required outputs from the inputs given. I will discuss it in detail how to divide our problem question statement into these three parts by some practical examples. Now the question arises that how will we identify input, processing and output from problem statement? For this we read the problem statement at first, and reread it, if needed, until we get what is being stated. Inputs and outputs are usually descriptive words like adjectives and nouns. For processing, we have to find the actions from the statement. It would mostly be in form the verbs and adverbs mentioned in the statement. When you identify these things you become able to write an IPO from the problem statement given to you. Things that we must remember, in this process of segregating inputs, outputs and processing, which we refer as IPOR. At this stage focus on what actions need to be performed, not on how they will be accomplished. In some problems, the inputs, processes, and outputs may not be clearly defined. In such cases it is best to concentrate on the outputs required. Then decide most inputs and then work out the processes required. Let's now practice the concepts that we have discussed till now. Create a very simple calculator that reads three numbers, add them together, and prints their total. Looking for the verbs and adverbs in the statement given, you would find three verbs which I have underlined. First one reads and second is add and third one is print. Looking for nouns and adjectives in the statement, you would find calculator, 3 numbers in total. As we have segregated these nouns and verbs, we can now write IPO of the problem statement given. Now have look at its IPO. Input is usually with verbs like get, read or input, so 3 numbers will go in input column, and as output has keywords like output, print or display, so we clearly get that total is going to be the output. What processing we have to do is read 3 numbers, add numbers together and print total number. A new thing that you must take care of while this input and output identification is name for input and output variables, so you should use meaningful names like number_1 and total. Now do the activity displayed on the screen. Pause the video. Take a pen and paper. Segregate input, output and processing by using techniques we have discussed earlier. If you are done with writing down your IPO, now have a look at IPO I have written. Hope you understand how to take first step towards solution by writing an IPO. In this processing column you are writing exactly what you is algorithm that you have written after reading problem statement. Hope you liked the video. If you have any questions regarding this, do not hesitate to ask questions in comment section. If you have not subscribed the channel yet,